Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Build Your Best Life. I am excited this morning. You can have real talk with Deborah and Anastasia. Good morning, Anastasia.
Good morning this morning. How are you, Miss Deborah?
I'm doing great, doing great. So, everyone, come on in. Make sure that you like and share. Get your notepads and tablets and pens ready to take some notes. We have an exciting topic for you this morning. Of course, this month we are talking about reaching out to nurture. And this morning, our topic is it's not competitive. It's not competitive. Because, there's always that cohesive, we hope, relationship between parents and their children. But all of us that are over, I'll say 15, we know that when our children get into those teenage years and they're changing schools, they're changing friends, hormones are changing. It's like a different dynamic. You don't know what child you're going to get on what day, and they probably think the same of us, but it does not have to be combative. We want it not to be a competition. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, because we think it is so important for parents and children, excuse me, to have a great relationship, because you have to be able to communicate with your children. And this will help if you start early. Always start early at all aspects of working with your children, nurturing them, showing them that you love them, because it will help you in the long run. So please, please, please make sure that you start early, because as parents, our first, I won't say our first, but one of our huge things is to make sure that we are showing our children that we love them. We're going to have to learn how to listen more and judge less, and then hopefully that will assist us in having that cohesive relationship. uh, Good morning, Dan, and good morning, Peggy. Thank you both for tuning in. We are going to get dive into this topic. It's not competitive. So, what are you thinking, Anastasia?
It is amazing to me how common still it is for parents to want to compete with their children or try to live through their children. And, they're trying to get back this life that they did not have themselves and these opportunities that they felt past them and, fulfill these goals that they had for themselves without actually talking to the children and finding out if it's something that they really want to do. Or, if it is that there's something that they started out wanting to do you still want to do it? How long is it that you really want to do it? Is it something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Or is it something that the way that most things are with kids is just a passing fad, and your feelings for it have faded away and you're not so strongly interested in it anymore, and there's something new that has piqued your interest. And a lot of times parents do not take the time to ask these types of questions, and they do not try to find out if it's something that the child is still interested, if they still want to do, or if they really, really wanted to do it in the first place, or if they're just doing it to please them. You know, a lot of times because um, it starts out so young, this competitiveness, this drive, this um, desire for the child to be what you couldn't be, and to take advantage of opportunities that they may not even be interested in. They have not truly developed their own thought or their own ability to express themselves clearly enough to say that, you know what, mom, this really is not what I wanted. This is, or it's not what I want anymore. And so we see things like dance moms. We see shows like toddlers and tiaras. We see shows like Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, Kids Baking Champion. All of these things we're seeing on the TV, and it's a form of entertainment for us because we're like, oh, they're so cute. Kids are always cute when they're trying out at something, and it's always so special to watch them go through the processes of growing up. And so for it to play out for us on the big screen or on a small screen in your house, and to be able to watch as these kids grow and develop and they make their mistakes. And I believe that the intention behind these things and capturing these types of moments has been as a guidance for the kids at home. You know, it's supposed to
Right.
be inspiration for these kids at home to say that this is something that you can do. This is something that's attainable. These are the steps to take to get there. And, this is how much fun it can be if it is that you do decide to do this. But what these shows also capture is the competitiveness of the parents. And it's showing how they are doing some of the dirty stuff to make sure that their kid comes out on top. They
Right.
are not considerate of their kids' feelings or emotions when they are waking them up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they're not going back to bed until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And they have to go through this coach and this trainer and that class and this session and all the rest of these things just to try to be on top of this area and this field that they've put them in. And it can actually be a discouraging thing also. So
Right.
even though the intent is let's show the world how it is that, children can do these great things, children can do these amazing things, the back end of it shows how parents can be so competitive and be so willing to risk it all that they don't care that the camera is there when they are doing some of these conniving things and when they are going to these great lengths and they're saying or trying to express, trying that it's all for the kid. Oh, it's
Mm.
also that because my baby wants to be um, the queen, she wants to be that toddler and tiara. And so that's why I do these things. I do it for her. No, not really. When you're like a dance mom, all of the outfits that are bought and all of the coaches that are hired and all of the different processes that they have to go through. And when it gets to that point of you're monitoring their diet so intently and they are a part of a gym and they have a dietitian and they're not allowed to cut their hair in the way that they want to because it has to be a certain length in order for them to compete. All of these things and all of these things, and it gets to pressing on the child, and it's so suffocating that they're not allowed to even go to a party. I can't go to my friend's party on Saturday because I have this thing going on Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon and so much and so on and so forth. You know, it shows that side of mean competitiveness and that mean substitution because if it's truly for the child and you're giving the child the opportunity to make some of the choices in what's happening in their life and what's going on. And they choose that, you know what, I do want to go to my best friend's birthday party rather than to go to the coaching session today. I would rather go to my best friend's birthday party, or I would rather go on the field trip at school, take the trip out of town to someplace else and have that experience. And so, what has been seen is that a lot of times thousands of child stars experience abuse, they are experiencing loneliness, they are building trust issues, and they are developing conflicting emotions. Now, the abuse, it is in the physical, it is in the emotional. There are a lot of different ways that a child can be abused. Even when it is that you hired this dietitian and they're trying to force them to maintain a certain weight so that they can be competitive, or they're trying to make them gain weight, or they're trying to make sure that their hair is shiny and so it's a high protein diet, or when these sort of crazy things are happening, you that is abusing the child. It's still child abuse, even if your intentions aren't to abuse the child. On the back end of it, that is still what's happening. The emotional abuse, the physical abuse I've seen. I'm not sure how familiar you've been with these shows, but I used to be a fan of Toddlers and Tiaras. I used to be a fan of Honey Boo Boo. I used to be a fan of John and Kate plus eight, like all of these type of shows, and like especially with Toddlers and Tiaras, when they have the little 3-year-olds who are tired because they've been up so early getting their hair done, and the little 6-year-olds who have lost a tooth, and it's not a pretty smile anymore because now you have a tooth missing and the tooth fairy hasn't, your tooth hasn't come back in yet, and so you're being forced to wear the plastic cover-ups, the veneers, so
Wow.
that when you smile, you have to have that particular smile in order for you to be competitive. You don't want to lose a single point just because you're going through what life throws at you. This is what happens naturally. This is the natural course of life. You lose your baby teeth and you get into your adult teeth, or when you're going to the dentist and you have to get your teeth whitened because your adult teeth have come in now, and so you have to make sure that they are those pearly whites and things. And those are not things that children would normally request for themselves. It
Yeah.
is the parent on the outside who is looking at other people's kids and they're like, hey, Donna over there, she has a particular coach to help her with her walk. And so we're going to get a coach to help you with your walk. You've been up since 6 something this morning, getting your hair done and everything like that. And so by the time as it's time to compete, you're having a complete meltdown, the way that children typically do. And so what do? They have a candy station set up off to the left or off to the right. And they're
Wow.
pumping these kids up with candy to try and keep their energy up and try to keep them going. And all of it's still forms of abuse. Abuse is the misuse of anything outside of what it's intended for. And so the intention of, I would even dare say, candy is not for you to pump it into your kid at such high volumes that you're going to give them the jitters and try to keep them awake when you've been the one that deprived them of sleep. Their lack of sleep is because you put them in a position of having to get up at 5 in the morning to start the process of getting quote unquote beautiful. And you're in turn teaching your child that, you know what, your natural state is not beautiful. The natural hair that God gave you, the natural skin tone, because they do spray tanning also. This melanin ain't on everybody, everybody was not blessed with it. And so, they spray tan these kids. They're not considering the effects of long term, you know, what is it doing to the child when they go through the entire process all day of preparing and getting ready, and they've done the coaches and they've done the sessions and they're doing what it is that you're asking them to do, and then they still don't get first place. That's emotional torture. They are not old enough to understand the competitive nature of these sort of pageants. They don't understand the competitive nature of these dance shows. When they started out dancing, it was for fun. They were somewhere in their bedroom doing a few flips and whatever else. And mom saw them and was like, "Hey, do you want to join gymnastics? Do you want to join a dance class?" And then it just evolves and evolves and evolves. Most time based on the parents' competitive nature. It starts out as um, this is something that you're enjoying and this is something that you want to do, and then it evolves. And so when it goes into the loneliness and the trust issues, that stems in when you're not sure who it is that is your actual friend anymore. And you would want that to be adult problems, you know? Like,
Right.
you go through high school, you go through college, you go in the workforce and everything like that. And the person that started out as your friend may not end up being your friend. And that's fine. And you're able to understand that, you know what? People evolve and change, and that's just a part of life. But as a smaller child, when it is that you are thinking that this person is your friend and it turns out that they're not, or you're thinking that this person has your best interest at heart and it turns out that they don't, that is magnified because they are exposed to such a larger environment than they would have been exposed to as a typical kid. You're exposed to a lot more people around you. You're exposed to a lot more kids around you and a lot more situations that you would not have been typically placed in as a regular child. And so the loneliness comes in when you're continuously moving, continuously going, you are not able to build those bonds and stabilize those bonds with your friends around you because you're always moving, you're always going, you're from one state to another, you're from one place to another. And it's just you and your mom a lot of times. In traveling, it's just you and your guardian. And so those friend bonds that you would usually be able to form if you were just going to a regular school every day and, just facing those regular kid situations, you're not able to have those. And so it can develop into that loneliness. And like I said, with the trust issues, when you thought that, someone was your friend, when you thought that someone had your best interest at heart, and then eventually it turns out that they don't, that can be very damaging for a child. And so when the conflicting emotions come in, you're being told and treated somewhat like an adult, like a mini adult, because you're expected to be responsible. You're expected to be not only responsible, you're expected to be more mature than you actually are. You're no longer just a 9-year old. You are a 9-year old with a job. You're literally a 9-year old with a job. And so there are a certain amount of hours you have to put into it. There's the training that's on the back end. And on one hand, I want to be a kid. I want to see that muddy puddle and jump inside. But you're telling me that I have to be more mature. I have to be more responsible. I have to be more um, decisive. I have to consider the accountability of my decisions. And my decision is really to go and jump in this puddle. That is really what I decided that I wanted to do. But I cannot do it because all of these other things are weighing on me. And I'm now responsible for making enough money to sustain the household. I'm responsible for making enough money to get mom the new phone or to get my phone or to get the car that we need and all of these things. And it's just absolutely crazy. The competitiveness of a parent for the child and the demands that are being placed on children is amazing. And I am very, very surprised to see that it is still continuing on today. You would think that, because the shows that I mentioned, they were like Toddlers and Tiaras ended in 2016. John and K plus 8 ended in 2017. Dance Moms ended in 2019. Um, Kids Baking Champion that's still going though. It started in 2015 and that's still going. Kid Nation started in 2007 and it's still going. So this is not just something that we've seen in media. We've seen the effects of it. We've seen that these kids are miserable, especially when they're doing their what they call their diary,
Mm.
when it's just them and the camera and the producer is asking them a million questions and they're trying to be as honest as possible. But you know, I'm still a kid. In these diaries, you can see that these kids are hurt. You can see that these kids are miserable. You can see that when these kids are falling apart, but these shows still exist. These situations, they still exist. And the competitiveness of the parents is shining through so greatly and so strongly. But the show must go on. What are your thoughts, Miss Deborah?
That's just horrific. I actually have never watched any of those particular shows. I kind of got turned off with the whole pageantry aspect of the dancers and everything and the competition. When what's her name? I was sitting here thinking, I can't think of her first name. Bonet Ramsey, the little girl that they never found out who killed her. And, it's to me, let children be children as long as they can. And I like to see the little dancers perform or whatever, but then I don't understand why they have to have this full face of makeup. They wear as much makeup as I do or more, probably more. And I don't understand that part of it. Okay, if you want to have their hair the same, fine, but why the makeup? And it's just unfair to children. Like you say, they want to play, they want to do other things, but it's really about the parents. What I couldn't do or what I can't do at my age, so I'm going to make it come to fruition through my children. But you are really abusing your children, and it's just so unfair. Politicians can enact laws about so many things, and some of them are so crazy. But this is something that someone needs to look into, as far as I'm concerned, because I do think that it is really abusive to children. And it just gets goes from one thing to the other. Just like the parents that they wanted their children into a particular college, so then they paid off people. Really? Is that important? All you should be engaged with is, are they getting a quality education? But because of who you are, you want them to go to a particular college. So you do these things, and that's the competitiveness and what is not good for that relationship. Because did those kids actually want to go to those schools, or was it the parents? I don't know, but I beg to differ that it was the parents that wanted them there. The kids probably could care less. They wanted to be with their friends, to do friend things. So as we nurture our children, those are some of the things that we need to think about. What are we doing to our kids, especially with these competitions and having them made up, and not to mention they're not getting rest or whatever, but you're having them made up with all this makeup. You're making them look 10, 15 years older than they are with all these predators out there. That's sick. Just really, really sick. Even uh, child actors and actresses, they have laws. They can only work so many hours, and I watch some one soap opera, but I know from watching that young kids, they normally get twins to play those parts because they don't want the children exposed to that many hours. So you can see that this is a big issue. It is really, really big. So that's why this is a real topic, because this is something that we need to stop and think about, because it's impacting our kids. And we had some more people to tune in with us. I want to say hello to Peggy, Shonda, Curly, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce this. I'm gonna say Munir Ken, but it's YNRKEN. Thank you all so much for tuning in, as we're talking about it's not about competition. But getting back to the teens and the young adults, and when they get to bumping heads with their parents, um, I want to talk about it from the perspective of what makes the relationship competitive. Because again, especially when children begin to transition into those teen years, when they have so much going on in the world, there's so much that society is throwing at them. They need to be able to know that they have an ally at home. I have a parent that I can talk to. But if you're so competitive with them that they don't feel like they can talk to you, then what are they going to do? So, some things to think about. The first one is generations. We talk about baby boomers, generation millennials. I think it was Gen Y, millennials, Gen X. Each one of these is not just a title, that's a label that people have put on a group of people, but those individuals have different traits. They lived in a different era. They think about different things. So you think about a person now, they sit down to eat and they can be stuffed, but they will continue to eat. And that may come from, they came from, they're the children of baby boomers, maybe. And during that time, there was not a lot of food. So what you had to eat. It had to, sustain you, sustain you. You didn't know when you were going to get another meal. So that is why they feel that way. You know, we're in a Gen Z or millennial, they like, hey, I'm going to get what I want, I'm going to eat it, and I'm good. But there are different things. A baby boomer, we didn't have technology. We had paper, pens, and real simple calculators. So all those things are different. But now you have to think about all the different generations, what's relevant, what's lit, what's a fad, and all of these things. So even though as you talk to your children and they try to tell you something different, you can't just, be rigid and say, hey, this is what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. It is what it is. Because it's not. You're living in a different time. Things have changed. We have technology now. And just like we have technology, life situations have changed. Issues that we had years ago, somebody got in a fight, that they were just going to have fists or hands and slapping. Girls were just going like this fighting. But now a girl, just as much as a guy, will pull out a gun in a minute. It's different. You know, you could go to school, whatever you had for lunch was fine. Now it's, what is that? What are they doing? Why did they bring that? Ew. It's just totally different. Some people are vegetarians. People don't understand that. Well, why are they eating that? We have all these animals and God provided it for us. Why we can't eat it? Well, you don't understand. Look into it. So, as parents, we have to realize Your kids are from a different generation. They're learning different things. They think differently than we did. So as long as you're not open, you're gonna bump heads. And that's where that competition comes in. So you don't want to do that. Also, your children often feel that you don't understand them. And a lot of times they're right. You don't understand. So until you try to sit sometimes and not talk and kind of listen, you're driving that 13, 14-year old group of kids to the movies or somewhere. Instead of listening to your music while they're talking, kind of turn your music down and kind of listen. Find out what they have going on. Pay attention to your kids. What are they watching on TV? What games do they like to play? We have these. It started years ago, and I can't. Anastasia probably know the name was the first games that they came out with, and I think it was an auto theft or something where they started
Hmm.
the
Grand
games.
Theft Auto.
What was it?
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, we start having accidents on purpose and shooting at people. So you got all
Mm-hmm.
these things going on. Well, you need to understand that. What are your kids watching? What's out there on YouTube? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, you have to understand because you get a 2-year old or 3-year old, they get a tablet, they can find anything they want. Now they may have problems learning how to go to potty, but give them a tablet. So if they can understand that, think about what your teen or your young adult may be into. So you have to stay relevant. You have to stay on top of what they are doing, the things that they say, because they may say a word and they may be talking about you and you don't even know it. It's just a whole different line of language and things that they use. So you do want to understand them. You want to know how they're feeling, what things that they have going on out in society that you didn't have to deal with. If you don't understand how to deal with those things, then you need to get involved. You need to talk with someone that can help you get on the same wavelength as your children so you can understand. But if they think my parents don't understand, I'm not going to try to talk to them because they're not going to listen, then they're not. And that's going to cause a problem because when they need to be talking to you, telling you things that you need to know to help them out, they are not going to do it. So that's again that competitiveness. So if you don't have a good relationship, uh, you already didn't have a good relationship, say, as a child coming up, maybe you're busy, you had babysitters keeping them or different relatives keeping them, so you didn't spend a lot of time with them, so your relationship is already kind of, and then they come and it's teenage time when you're going to have a whole lot of things going on. You're already at a deficit. You're already at a deficit. So you got a lot to do. So you have to be willing to do some things like listen, learn, because if you don't, you are hurting yourself, your child, and your relationship. Because you know what? You don't know what you don't know because you don't know a lot of times. So you got to find out what's going on. Read instead of getting that Ebony magazine or that men's or whatever is out there. People, get a good book. Read about teens, relationship, what things they're going through, how to deal with those things. Read, 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 but read the right things. Things that will help you to have a great relationship or a better relationship with your child because you don't want this time in their lives to be a competition. You need to be their greatest ally. And you have to listen, listen, listen. And I know you get tired of Coach Deborah saying listen, But a lot of us don't know how to listen. We think we're listening, but at the same time, we're trying to think about what we're going to say next, how we're going to respond to that person. Don't want to forget what I'm going to say. Thinking about something at work, something that happened. No. When it comes to your children, it should be with everybody. But right now, we're talking about your children. You have to listen with both ears. And if you can find anything else to listen with, you need to grab a hold of that too. But you have to listen. Listening means you're looking at them, you're paying attention to their body language, what they're saying, the look on their face, what they may be leaving out, but you are listening so that you can help them and you can understand. Because if you're trying to do all the talking and answering them and telling them, well, when I was this age, yeah, that happened to me when I was 16, that black, that. But when you were 16, that was 20, 30 years ago. The world is different. Listen to your children, okay? And then you have to be willing, and this is the last one I'm going to say about this because I'm going to, Anastasia's going to give us some positive things and how we can relate to our children and not be so competitive. But you got to have those crucial conversations. I know some topics you just like, I don't know how I'm going to breach that with them, because I can remember when I was coming up, there's a lot of things I didn't learn until I got to be an adult because my mom didn't explain how the body worked. She just said, you better not get pregnant. That was it. So she didn't explain anything, so I didn't know a lot of things. But you got to learn and understand so you can articulate those things to your children. You have to have those crucial conversations about sex, respect, diseases, whatever it is. If you're a single mom, you don't have any role models around to talk to that son, hey, you got to put on your good big girl pants and you got to have that conversation with your son. Been there, done that. You can do it. You can do it. you know, I mean, you don't know, I guess, from a man's perspective, but you can tell them how to be safe, what they should and should not do. No means no, how to protect themselves, what little girls think, how they can get you in a trap. I'm a girl, so I can tell them girly things. So you have to have that conversation that you don't want to have, you just got to have it. So that is one thing that I want to say. No conversation should be off limits. If they got a bump on their butt, they should be a mom. I don't mean any harm, but it's something back here. I need you to look at it. And so you and y'all can talk about it. Okay, we need to take you to the ER because that don't look too good. Whatever it is, you got to have that conversation, and it's got to be okay. So what do you think about that, Anastasia? I'm gonna call it like it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's real talk. But, I totally agree with you, especially with at least making the space, creating the space for the conversation to be had. I know that with my kids, there are a lot of conversations that they may have wanted to have, and they were not sure of how I would respond to it. But there are a lot of conversations that we have had on a lot of things that we have discussed that I'm I'm fairly confident that by us having those conversations and having those discussions, it got them to have a greater understanding than if it is that they tried to figure it out on their own, or if they had gone to somebody in their peer group about it and just gotten some really bad advice, or, just really gotten some immature advice that would have led them into doing something, saying something that they would regret later. So I know that, all conversations are going to come to you, but creating that space where at least most of them will be able to come and, you know, they won't feel like you're going to hold it against them or you're going to kill them or, as we say here in the Bahamas, tear their head off, you know. As long as they can feel that it's a safe space, then, that's creating an environment for change to happen. So, to have a loving and commendable relationship during a rough season, you have to do the work together and ensure that you're listening, you're understanding, and you're doing what is needed to get that work done. So, a part of being able to communicate with your child and opening up that communication, whether it is that they're telling you that they do want to do something, that they don't want to do something, or they don't like something that you've done. One of the things that we have to make sure that we have going on is good communication. And in order to have good communication, you're going to have to be that listening ear. And you're not listening just to respond, but you're listening to understand. You're going to have to be supportive. You're going to have to stay involved. Those are the three things that Miss Deborah touched on a bit, but they are also the things that are needed for the communication to be able to grow, for that competitiveness to somewhat end. Because, if your child is able to say to you, listen, I don't want to go to that college, and to be able to legitimately say to you why it is they don't want to go there, or what their fears are about going there, that conversation can end in either direction. It can be that you gain that understanding of why it is your child doesn't want to go and they don't go there, or it could be um, that they understand your perspective as to why it is you want them to go there. And it breaks down that wall of competition. No longer becomes so much of a competition because there's an understanding gained. And so being supportive also is with you taking that conversation and taking that initial communication and not being negative, not bashing them for having that opinion, or feeling that type of way, but being supportive of what it is that they truly want to do, who they truly want to be. They will have to live with themselves for the rest of their lives. You're going to be gone, and they still have to live with themselves and the person that they've become and the decisions that they've made. So let's try to be supportive in what it is that these kids want to do, where it is that they want to go, and the avenues sometimes that it takes for them to get there, and staying involved. As you be supportive of what it is that they are deciding to do with themselves and do with their lives, do not take your hands off of them completely. Like, I've been telling my daughter since she's had a birthday a few weeks ago that, all right, that means I done, my time finished, we over. You on your own now. But she came to me and she asked me, listen, you keep on saying that you're done and it's over and all that. I need you to tell me, break it down to me, and let me understand what it is you actually mean. And so I had to tell her, yes, I am still going to be that guide for you. I'm going to still be there, if you fall or if you need me. But the actual day to day of your life, that now falls on you. You are now even more accountable for the things that you're doing and the decisions that you're making and the actions that you're taking. So it's not my mommy told me to, or because my mommy said, or whatever else. That little voice in your head is now your own. And so whatever happens after this and after the course of these decisions, you are going to have to deal with. And so we had to have that conversation. And it still means that I am involved. It's just that the role that I play is smaller, and her role in her own life has gotten bigger. So those are the three things that I wanted to leave you with. And a little bit of advisement on how you can do that. You can schedule family meal times. You can play hooky and do something, kind of crazy or fun. You can rent a movie and y'all watch this movie together and talk through the movie. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Um, Cook or bake together, you know, make something awesome. Um, Hang out in their room, go into their space and listen to their music and to see what it is. As you said, when you're driving the kids in the car, you're not just going to pump up your music so that you don't hear them talking in the back. You go into their space sometimes so that you can really see what it is that they're going through and what it is they're interested in. And you'll be able to build a conversation from there. Are there any other tips that you can think of, Miss Deborah?
Um, no, I mean just what I said before about listening. Just make sure, just listen, listen, listen. And I know a lot of times we
Absolutely.
say, I'm your friend, I'm your friend. Yeah, be careful with that term, um, because you think about friend, and so a friend to them is friend. So are you going to be able to be their friend and be that person that's there to guide them and lead them, and they listen to you? Are they just gonna like you? Hey, oh, you my dog, you my dude, or oh, that's my BFF, and you say, okay, I need you to go in there and wash those dishes, girl. I just got my nails done. Okay, so you
Mhm.
have to be careful with that, I think.
Absolutely. My best friend is trying this thing that she's called gentle parenting.
Mm.
And I'm not sure how it's going because the baby is only 3. So I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going, but it's interesting to watch. I'll say that much. It's definitely interesting to watch. And so we are not bashing any, new methods and, anyone else's choices on how it is that they raise their kids. We're just asking you to be careful and be mindful as you do it. And let's remember that, like I said, they're going to have to live with themselves when you're gone.
All right. All right. So this has been a great talk. And Anastasia is going to tell you about what she's been up to, what she's doing, besides fourth Saturdays with real talk.
Well, besides my fourth Saturdays and when I'm having a guest spot with Effective Living Mondays, my Toastmaster year is ending. My year of presidency is ending. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be June 30th. And we're gonna have a new president and a new executive team. And I'm definitely looking forward to hanging up that pin and that responsibility. But also um, my time with the Youth Empowerment Program has ended for the year. We'll see how it goes for the next year. So I'm looking forward to summer, actually. That's what I'm looking forward to. I am looking forward to lighter duties at work. I am looking forward to the new crop of kids that are going to come at the end of summer. But if it is that you're trying to reach me, you can reach me through my Be Becoming platform that is on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I don't understand it. But you can reach me there. And um, on Instagram, it's be_becoming. On Facebook, it is direct, just as that. And what we do is youth mentorship, we do career counseling, and we do career path um, choices. And so that would be how you can see me, how you can reach out to me.
Great. Thank you so much. I always enjoy the time we spend on fourth Saturdays. Please make sure that you check out my website at www.buildyourbestlife.org. Of course, you can read the blog that comes out each Monday. Look at my calendar of events. Four major events for the year are already out there, along with the speakers. Our next event is Men and Boys Conference, and that starts June 12th and runs through the 15th. And I'm always super excited, but I am really, really super excited. This year we're going to have, uh, I'll say men and boys, but we're going to have some young men as speakers as well as some seasoned men. So we're going to have a mixture. So I am really excited to see our young men step it up this year. So make sure you put that up, put that on your calendar. It starts on June the 12th, which will be Ricardo Miller Jr. On the 13th, which is that Tuesday, will be Courtney Bell Jr. And then on the 14th will be Pastor Herb Ford. And closing us out on the 15th will be Coach Ricardo Miller. So it's going to be an awesome time. So please make sure you put that on your calendar. Also, check out my store. I'm a coach, of course. And so you can find out how to reach me as far as my coaching, consultation, speaking, webinar speaking. And you can get an autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. And it makes a great gift. I know graduations are almost over, but it still makes a great, great gift. And Father's Day is coming up. So it is a book that's for everybody, and something that is a gift that they can have that lasts and lasts. You see, I even have tabs on here because I read it. I'm thinking about something. I was like, let me see if that's in my book. And I go back, and there are activities for you in the back. But you won't regret it if you get a copy of this book. If you like Kindle version, you can check on Amazon.com. The Kindle version is out there. But again, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please tune in on Tuesday for Reach Out Tuesdays. Next, the 30th, we're going to have Professor Hubert Edwards is going to be our guest, and we're going to be talking about Do You See What I See? So you want to check us out, and at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 30th. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. This morning you could have been anywhere else, but I'm so glad you decided to join us. And good morning, Coach Ricardo. He says good morning, Anastasia. Thank you for tuning in as well. Pastor Keno McCartney, I saw he tuned in. So thank you both so much. But it has been a joy talking about not being competitive, because we need parents being the advocate and nurturer that they are here to be for their children. And we need children listening and being open. So together you can be a cohesive unit. And that's what we need in today's society, because we want our young men stepping up, ready to take over this world, be great husbands and dads. And we know you can do it. So thank you. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. And again, Anastasia, thank you so much. I love these fourth Saturdays.
I love them too. They are so deserving of this share and of this light, and to be passed on, and not just through this day, but through the upcoming weeks. I'm sure that there's someone out there that can use these tips, or they can go back through the page and find another video that they feel can relate to them and in speaking to them and stuff like that. And so doing this so consistently, so passionately, I'm sure that you are making a greater impact than you even realize.
All right. Thank you so much. See you next fourth Saturday. And everybody else, I'll be looking for you on Tuesday. Have a great rest of your weekend. And remember, tomorrow is Pentecost Sunday. Bye bye.